Solution for that, we'd like to see the bill
Well,
tax.
I've
We've
been
working on
enjoying
that.
I've been enjoying the concert.
No charge.
All right, there's two values, all right? Look, radio is incredibly important, and it's a lot of stress, but local radio especially, I think is really important because our communities don't have the glue that holds them together, and local radio can do that. You mentioned the radio that was done to help raise money for aid, but we can't have radio without artists, and artists struggle. And, the proposition that it's free because the radio is free, that's like, tech is saying it's free Gmail. But there are a lot of other collateral consequences that we have very little control over and are struggling with. So how do you answer the basic question that if you broadcast somebody's creative work, they shouldn't get paid? Yeah, it is.
Well, again, this is the system that we operate under. It's worked for 100 years. We've had a system.
No, but seriously, it's worked for you for 100 years.
Well, respectfully.
14 billion.
Last year.
Well, let me clarify that I did not make $14 billion last year.
No.
And I will say again, I'll repeat what I said earlier. The latest statistics are that radio revenues are down 20% since 2019.
No, here's why I'm interrupting. It's just a basic fact. It should be a basic value. If you provide a service to me, I come in and I want to get radio advertising, you charge me money for that, and I benefit. And the tool you use to sell your advertising is the creative work of artists. And it's hard for me to understand how it is that those artists shouldn't be recognized for their contribution, even though people turn that radio on or turning it on for free.
May I answer?
Yeah.
Again, the promotional value that radio stations provide is phenomenal, and it continues to be phenomenal. It's being downplayed here today, but let me say people like Lainey Wilson, who just one of the top stars in the country right now, just won a BMI award. One of the first things she said when she won the award was, "Thank you to radio for helping me get where I am." No, I just mentioned.
Okay, I get that, and politicians, if they go viral, that's a good moment for them, and that's over the media that is free. But there is the point that Mr. Simmons has been making, and that is that a lot of artists have to struggle an awful long time and with very little compensation, and what motivates them is their dedication to their craft, to wanting to express that and the healing power that music can have, and them having the opportunity to contribute. So that system doesn't work for many of the artists. The concern I have is to make sure that a lot of these small radio stations that don't make the big money, and they play an incredibly important role in Vermont. And they might be college stations, and they play a role to get a person started, to have some sense that they can have a career. But that radio station can't afford anything.
Yeah, Senator Welch, just for the bill we're talking about today, there is a $100 cap for college stations, $500 cap for certain.
No, and
low market
I think that's great. It makes it possible. There's been a lot of progress on that. But you wouldn't have a problem with that, right, Mr. Simmons?
I'll take it case by case, Senator, but it should be up to performers to decide, not for an industry that's rich in their pockets with $14 billion. No, but I understand we are sensitive.
Let me push back a little bit in the sense that the performer is not going to be negotiating with the college radio station in Vermont State College, right? I mean, that's the whole point of the legislation, is to try to provide some fairness. And my question to you is, do you have any issue with the legislation including some carve-outs for stations whose revenues are below a certain amount, where reasonably speaking,
You're speaking to possibly the most unqualified person in this room. However, as a voting citizen of these United States, I and the rest of the population hold the ultimate power. And as one voting member, I think all radio stations must pay something.
Okay.
Somewhere between something and $14 billion is the answer.
All right, just one final plug. Senator Blackburn and I have the TRAIN Act, and it's really an effort to try to protect exploitation of the artistic output of products through AI. And I would just like to hear from each, just a yes or no. Do you think we should protect intellectual property, the creative content?
Respectfully,
being exploited with it.
May I take some
AI?
of your time, Senator?
To
I didn't
the
want you
extent
to
that
say-
he's already 40 seconds over, yes.
Very clearly. In some of the contracts that I've signed and negotiated myself, although I'm not a lawyer, in the interest of full disclosure, perhaps there should be an escalation clause. Smaller stations, you play our songs a few times, it's X. If you're finding out that you're playing our songs and it's really increasing and you start making a lot more money, perhaps there should be an escalation clause for the reason you're making more money and selling more advertising. That's fair.
But I do think, Senator Welch, on the issue of AI and the real threat to creators, we're discussing that as another subject for a hearing in this Congress. I think it's very important. Senator Blackburn, would you like to go second round?
I would indeed, and Mr. Chairman, I have several letters of support for the AMFA, and they are letters from the Recording Academy, RIAA, American Association of Independent Music, SAG-AFTRA,